Welcome to another episode of Ask a Brother podcast. I'm your host, Jeff St. James, and we're going to have a whole host of different people from different backgrounds coming in because it really is about building a community of like-minded people that's just open to listening and hearing from other perspectives. The revolution is going to be because of us.
Yo, that chef was serving more than just food to Stefon Diggs. If y'all saw those messages, you would see that she said, "And I'm out your life." Employees don't quit that way. Situationships do. So like I said, that chef was obviously serving way more than just food to Stefon Diggs. And that's why she had all of those feelings, all those emotions up on that stand. That wasn't a victim, I would say. Maybe she was a victim in like a heartbreak, maybe. But like, that's not a crime. Him breaking your heart is not a crime. She should have just taken that $100K and went about her life instead of worrying about the fact that he was messing around with other employees. Girl, that's not your man. What are you worried about him and his many other side chicks for? That should be Cardi's problem, not yours.
So lock her line ass up. Stefon Diggs lost endorsements, lost credibility, lost his job behind the line. First and foremost, I want to say that this woman not only committed crimes to men, but she committed crimes to women and victims all over the world. You mean to tell me that there are people out in this world that actually are victimized, that actually got shit going on, that are actually being done wrong, and you wasted a ton of taxpayers' dollars and law enforcement time because you was mad about some debt? And it just goes to show when women do not have control of their emotions and they use their emotions to justify their lack of logic. Baby, you was mad about some dick. You was the help. And he treated you like that. And just because a nigga smash and dash doesn't mean that you go and try to squeeze him for some money. This ain't the first time this happened, ladies and gentlemen.
You know, the way he treated you when you were pregnant, the way he talked to you when you were pregnant, the way that the same people that has defended him in this know how he treated you while you were pregnant and how he was to you when you were pregnant, will always be something I will never understand. The way he treated you in the delivery room.
Ago, your lawyer demanded $5.5 million from Mr. Diggs, didn't he?
Mr. Diggs offered me $100,000 to recant my statement.
That is a yes.
That is the only.
Maybe be heard at sidebar, please.
Objection, move this right. Judge, the last part of the witness's answer. The last part of the witness's response will be stricken as non-responsive. You will disregard it and you will not consider it during.
So to play devil's advocate, what they mean is that when there is a conflict, the women are saying, I'm willing to talk it through. Whereas the avoidant man, the dark masculine man, he doesn't want to talk it through.
Right, and the reason why is because a lot of these women are very abusive when it comes to verbal communication. Like Kenya always says, she's like, I'll talk circles around a man. And that's true. I've seen Kenya in a bunch of arguments and debates with men. Boyfriends, partners, you see what I'm saying? I've been in them with her. You see what I'm saying? Like, no, I don't. Why would a man want to go back and forth with a woman who's just going to berate him and go just word salads and vomiting words at him? So yeah, I hear what you're saying. You're saying you want to talk it through, right? But no, you don't want to talk it through. You want another opportunity to verbally beat him down into taking your side of things and to doing things your way. That's not communication. That's not talking it through. That's how we create an up level. So that each
realize that guy isn't creepy. You're just not physically attracted to him.
Welcome to another episode of I Fucking Told You So. Viewer discretion is advised.
I know, you thought you were less shallow than that, and it's okay because you're not. I'm not judging you, okay? I am a lot of the times more pleasant when I am physically attracted to someone. Like if a guy who's attractive to me is looking at me, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's looking at me. But when a guy that I don't find attractive looks at me, I'm like, oh my gosh, who's gonna call the police?
By the power invested in me, I pronounce women that think like this diabolical. However, there is a part that we must take appreciation to, and it's the fact that they are admitting that they are like this. Because this is something men have been saying for quite some time. If you are attractive enough, you can get away with murder damn near. Nothing ever is actually what it is until they deem you attractive or unattractive. So, for example, if she says you SA'd her or you harassed her, it depends on your level of attraction. If she's very, very attracted to you, there's a good chance she's not going to say anything about it. But if she's not attracted to you, you're going to jail. They move the goalposts depending on how attracted they are to you, which is insane to say the least. Because if you ask me, any offense should be taken seriously, no matter how attractive or unattractive this person is. But I'm happy these videos are coming out because it's proving the things that men have been saying for X amount of years at this point. This is exactly...
Ohio.
遠慮しなくていいのよ。
嘘。これがダメなの？
触り方に何か問題があるのかな。
じゃあ部長だったらどうやるんです？
え？
お願いします。
いや、おはよう。いや、おはよう。
So the basic thing is they can always pull that card and take you down no matter how high you go. First thing you need to understand is if you're going to go into that system, just be mindful no matter what she says, no matter how comfortable she makes you think she is with you. Keep your receipts and record if that's the lifestyle you want to live. If that's where you're going, then you need to protect yourself. The reality is you should not go in that direction. Should not go in that direction.
Should not go in that direction.
Now, on the other end, there are a lot of black women who do the same thing nowadays that a lot of white women do. So this is the reason why I said the feminism circumstance is not equal. But there are a lot of them who do these things because they have been removed from their name, language, culture, religion, God. They don't know who the hell they are. And so they're taking on the identity of who they think is the winner. The white woman has been looked at as the winner. So they take on that mentality, those actions, those behaviors. Right now, it is a competition to see how many people can get with a man, lie on a man, sue the man, and get a paycheck. That's a new job description for a lot of women nowadays. A lot of people don't want to work, so a lot of women now have literally looked at how can I get with a man with a lot of money, make it seem as though everything that he's saying is cool, I love him, I'm comfortable with him, and then just lie on him, say he raped me, sue him, and get a lot of money. Quick come up or get a baby, because that's the old school tactic. That's 18 years of free rent, free everything, boom. It's very sick. Now, I don't like having to say this, but this is the truth. Brittany Renner said that. She outlined it very clearly. She said, well, if y'all want to just have 18 years of just free everything, get with one of these dumb athletes and get pregnant by them. This is what she said.
It's the worst people to deal with are the athletes. None of them use condoms, really. So if y'all really want to try to come up off a check off a man, I mean, you could just fuck an athlete. They're really done.
She said it out loud. It is a business now. The problem is, if you a big black man who became successful like our brother, be careful, because a lot of them are placed around you and you think that you are above the system. No, I mean, like, realistically, what are you doing? Know the rules of the game you're playing. Everything's recorded, number one. Number two, lawsuits being tossed out here like candy. Be mindful. Number three, protect yourself. If you live in this janky type of lifestyle, frivolous, where you have no discipline, you want to have sex with everybody, promiscuous, okay, you have something called NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. That's what people do. Protect yourself. If you want.
What's going on? What's going on? Welcome to another episode of the Ladies Table. I'm your host, Jeff St. James. I'm going to introduce our panelists for this evening. To start with, I'm going to say Miss Crimson Cure, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Hello, and good evening to everybody.
All right. And then number two, Miss Maggie, the substitute teacher. What's going on?
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Happy to be back.
And then last but not least, we have a guest panelist for this evening, Miss Verlin Tarleton. What's going on, madam?
It's all good. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me.
All right, y'all. So that was a lot of territory and that 7-minute intro that covered a lot of different interesting things that I think are probably going to be related to today's discussion. But to start with, Stefon Diggs being found not guilty. What are your initial thoughts about why these type of situations are happening and how these high-profile men keep falling into these type of situations? Let's start with Crimson, then Maggie, then Verlin.
Because it alludes to something that I spoke about earlier in my show and what we talked about a couple of days ago on this show. The prevalence of prostitution and horror culture invading dating spaces and relationship spaces. And a lot of times that transactional dealing between the men and the women are taking the place of the dating. See, these people are not dating. Nobody's dating. Like Stefon Diggs is not dating anybody. Okay, let's be clear. Stefon has a lot of bops that he tricking on. See, that's different. Men dating women is something different than a John tricking off on a whore. That is different. Those are not the same things at all. And I hate the fact that these things are conflated together as if they are one and the same, or as if they are fluid, and they are not fluid. So the reason why I think that these men and these women are getting caught up in these situations is because there is no kind of dating. They are not coming to each other on the basis of, I want to get to know you, I want to see if I want to be in a relationship, and we can be in a relationship. They're coming in, both parties are coming in with whatever they got going on in their head. The chicks are coming in for the money. They're specifically coming for that. I'll give you the girlfriend experience. I'll be on your arm, like escorts. They're behaving like escorts. And the men are saying, sure. And they know what's up. I'll give you some money in order to do that, because you're not going to come do it for free. You want something out of this, because we don't love each other. And we're not trying to love each other. I'm not trying to be married. I'm not trying to be in a covenant, a commitment, or anything. Mr. Stefon and others like him, specifically like the athletes and stuff like that, they're not, unless they're married, they're not looking to have these meaningful relationships. They're jumping in and out of situationships. And when we're talking about the prostitution culture, the sex work that people are in, you're dealing with people that don't have integrity. Women that sell themselves to men do not have integrity. So we cannot expect them to operate with an integrity that they do not have. They don't have good character. These women are broken. This is why they're in sex work. I don't know a single woman, if you ever watch any of these, I don't know a single woman that has ever said, after being involved in sex work, that I've never heard her not say that she was SA'd at some point, that she's broken at some point, that there's something going on with her that preceded her being in situations where she's a sex worker, whether that's stripping, whether that's escorting, whether that's walking the blade, whether she just calls herself getting in and out of these situationships with men for money, whatever level that's at, she is broken, which is why she's there. So to expect these women to have honesty, integrity, discipline, be in control of their emotions, that's something for women. That is not something for prostitutes. Prostitutes don't have that. This is how they're getting caught up, because like you just said, everybody think they bigger than the program, and you're not. You muted, beloved.
Sorry about that. I was saying, for everybody that's currently watching, if you are not subscribed or following anyone that's showing on the screen currently, please make sure that you do. And then also, y'all feel free to hit them super chat buttons if you want to support our channel, support the brand, support this particular platform and panel that we're trying to do on a weekly basis. And for super chats, listen, $5 and up, I'm gonna definitely make sure I don't miss it. I love what you said. I love that it's not that the things that are happening that's leading to Me Too moments and accusations aren't legit cases. I think the frequency of these type of cases coming out is exactly oftentimes increasing exactly with the behavior you're saying. People are trying to move like escorts and prostitutes, and they're already approaching situations where they may not be 100% invested. And they have, like you said, ulterior motives to begin with for why they're even involved with this situation. And when it goes left, when the money dries up, when another woman comes in the picture, I can see how the likelihood of people whose morality is already so low vibrational, at the base level of this is what I need, give me this. This has little to do with, a lot of times, I think, actual true love. I think this is so much more about possessiveness, revenge. So Miss Maggie, why don't you come in relation to what Crimson said and also what you watched Well, what do you think is going on for why more and more of these cases are happening, and it's starting to turn out that there seems to be a trend with with women being found to basically be lying to some degree or lying about the whole situation? Why is this seemingly starting to come out more often, in your opinion, or happening more often?
I think it's human nature that we continue to do what works. And the sad thing is, this has worked for far too long. And I think one of the clips said that, our sisters are starting to look and see, oh, that's how you do it. And now they're piling on. So unfortunately, this trend is going to be a lagging indicator because women have been able to cash out, tell a lie, destroy a man's reputation, sail off into the sunset. Didn't we see Shannon Sharp's accuser retire the next day after she got her windfall? So my concern, not only is this wrong and it's illegal and she made a fool of herself, as she should, because it was a lie, but the reason why we're seeing more of this is because I believe Ms. Crimson had said this before, women think, not all, but women think when they have access to a certain caliber of man, that is your new level, you belong there. This woman was hired for a task. There are so many types of understandings and arrangements that people have that may last so many years that we never hear of because everybody knows what it is, like Ms. Crimson said. In this example, this woman, her ego and her pride got the best of her. Because if this was just about an alleged assault, why does any other woman have to come into the picture or the testimony? Everybody knows Stefon Diggs has a reputation. He doesn't try to hide it. He doesn't pretend that he's a one-woman man. Like Ms. Crimson said, he is not courting a woman for a lifetime commitment. So if he approaches you, you already know what it is. Why would you think, like Kevin Samuels used to say, that you are the special snowflake, that you, number 6 or 7 or whatever you are going to be the one to turn this man? So I think what happened is she didn't get her way, or she got jealous, or she thought I'm better than everybody, or whatever happened. And she said, okay, I'm going to show you. And she completely embarrassed herself. And the fact that she's continuing to talk about it and talk about the other women after this case was dismissed shows that this was so much deeper for her than the false accusation. Her pride was hurt, and now she's trying to clap back and she's digging the hole even deeper.
This is one of those tough situations. One of the things that I've been wondering about this for some time is what's the blowback going to be towards the actual legitimate victims? Is the bar going to start to go up more and more for that, not only for the legal system to recognize something wrong happened to you, but even for the public to start to believe you? The last few times I've seen a trend, small trend, of some women starting to call this stuff out at the beginning when cases like this happens. And they're having questions about how much of how complicit are you in the situations you're putting yourself in, taking foreign substances while dealing with these men, lying about your age. We're gonna get to that. A whole host of things, and even other related things that probably could trigger these type of insane assault situations. What do you all think is probably going to happen when it comes to real victims going forward with these type of cases, especially high profile cases? We'll start with Verlaine and then we'll circle back to Crimson.
Unfortunately, as we can probably imagine, you will have to prove more and more that these things happen. And let me first say this. I have 3 sons. I have an adult son and I have twin fellas who are 17 and who have to go out in this world. And so when I hear this, I'm like, wow, blown away. For women that this happens to in real life, I think this is a sad day. One of the things I think should change, and this is just my opinion, and I'm sure many people have stated this, that what is the repercussion for women who do this? Because if you are constantly hearing this, and the only thing that happens is, okay, the case is dismissed, the person is found innocent, and then you pick up and go on with life, what message does that send to other women? And so it's like some type of legislation should be passed so that there is some type of, again, repercussion, whether it's a fine, whether it's some jail time, something should be put in place, because there's so many innocent men that this is happening to. And like we said, then you have a woman who this really happens to. It reminds me of the boy who cried wolf. You know how so many times he said this happened, no, no, it's a joke, and then it really happened. And so I think it's a negative impact for legitimate victims, because now you're faced with, okay, if I say something, is anybody going to believe me? Or am I another Me Too person? And so, like, what do you have to do? Have a video camera to prove it? You know, how are you going to be able to prove this unless you have some bruises and you've got, I know they have those kits that they can check, but in my opinion, it's making it really, really bad for the up and coming women. And again, I really think it should be some repercussions. I think all this happening over, and okay, we move on with life. He can't move on with life. You know, you're talking about 60 some $1 million, you know. So yeah, it should be some repercussions that will send a message that this is not okay. You can't
Listen,
just ruin a person's life and be like, okay, I'm out.
I'm going to say this. The minority of people who truly feel that way and believe exactly what you said, including and I'm in that count, I don't think we truly realize the sheer amount of people that would never want that to happen and never want there to be actual legitimate repercussions for this. It's not just the people who have done it, it's the people who would always want that to be an option for themselves. How many women do you think, if that was legitimately on the ballot, would vote for a candidate that says that they would actually put something in place for this? If you had to put a percentage on it, what's the percentage of all women? I ain't even talking about black women, I'm talking about all women that's going to vote for something like this that they know is going to be a benefit for men and boys and their sons, but it's going to come with a cost for women? How many of them do you honestly believe are going to do this? What's the Berlin, Maggie, then Crimson? What's the percentage, if you had to be honest with yourself, if this was the only thing they were voting on, would they vote for or against any type of legit legislation to hold people who are proven to be false accusers liable or, accountable? Berlin, what's the percentage?
Oh my gosh. It's sad to think of our society this way, but maybe 10%. Even what about perjury? Like that's not even, you know what I mean? But I don't know, 10, 15% when you put it in that perspective.
What about you, Maggie?
I agree. I was thinking 10%, and I see that in the chat, less than 10%. And that 10%, unfortunately, is going to be the women that either know somebody that did this or it touched them, because it's so easy for us to just la our way through it. Oh, that's such a shame, and go on about our life. And this is why it's so dangerous. And women who, even though this hasn't happened to you, I think I said this in a previous episode, we are all going to pay the price. Now the relationship between men and women, even if it were cordial before, there's going to be a strain there. There's going to be some tension there. There's going to be, you know what, I can't have a conversation with you unless I have a witness. My man says every single man needs to have cameras in his house and basically say, hey, you know what, this is just what I need to do to protect myself, because the men don't feel like the system is going to protect them. And so all of us who say, well, I would never do that, well, that's not enough anymore. We're not going to be able to be taken for our word anymore. It's going to take us longer to establish trust, as it should, because again, that pendulum has swung so far that women can just say, I feel unsafe, and a man's future is ruined. So I agree with Miss Verlin. I know it'll never happen, but as a boy mom as well, I think the consequence should be the same amount of punishment that was going to happen to the accused. So let's say he was going to get 2 years for choking and slapping her. If you are proven to have lied on that man, that punishment should be yours. So this woman who wasted everybody's time and damaged his reputation, the court, the judge, the jurors, and everybody, whatever that punishment would have been, she should be sitting in a jail cell right now figuring out how she got there.
Crimson, and then I'm gonna hit these super chats. What's the percentage?
I got a little bit more hope. I was going up to about 15 or so of all women,
Mhm.
about 15 or 20% of all women would likely vote in favor of, because about 7 years ago, I said on one of my very old live streams that's probably not up anymore, I called it the Cry Wolf Act. We should probably enact something that is called the Cry Wolf, which would be a registry of women who have been proven to be liars, to put them on a registry like you put convicted offenders on a registry, put them on a registry and make them pay some type of fine or whatever. I do agree with the punishment. If you are found specifically to be lying, like we don't suspect you lied, or we didn't just not convict him, you lied. So then you should get some type of like whatever jail time he was gonna get, probation he was gonna get, whatever he was gonna get, like you should get it, and then that'll stop. Because the reason why I think that the percentage is a little higher is because of the actual SA victims. The majority of victims never come forward, and we have to understand that. The majority of SA victims don't tell anybody, specifically because it is difficult to prove. It's always a situation of, what did you really want it? Was it really great? Well, what situation? Well, what did you do to incite this man to do this? Did he even do it? We don't know. What were you wearing? Well, where were you? Well, why were you over there? See, real victims know that's the line of questioning that's about to come.
Yeah, that's the
So
word.
they just don't say it. They just don't tell nobody. They don't go to the police. They don't, because who believes it? It is your word against his. Unless he almost took your head off, it's not gonna be, you know what I'm saying, something that you can really prove. It's very, very difficult. Even if you go and get a kit done in a DNA, well, it was consensual. How do you prove it's not? How do you say that it's not? You know what I'm saying? So most real victims never say that they are victims specifically. And so if this actually keeps going, you'll probably get to almost 100% of real victims never come forward. Just none of them. Just none of the women say nothing, because I'm not going to be believed. I can't really prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt. And, now I got to relive it. I got to talk about it. No, you know what? I'll just try to make it through. I'll just deal with the trauma myself and go on about my business and try to live my life the best way I can after that, and go heal and figure that out. Because here's the other part of it. A legislative act like that, this needs to be stopped with the women lying, because it not only puts real victims in a position where they can never be believed, but it protects the predators. It protects the actual predator. Because if it's a guy, well, these chicks be lying, but he really doing it. You know what I'm saying? The other guys commiserate with him because, yeah, chicks do be lying, and that guy got lied on and I got lied on. But see, they're not doing it for real. They're actually getting lied on. And so then you got the predator. He can hide behind the guys that don't do it,
because they're all getting accused.
Right, because everybody's being accused. So I ain't doing nothing. These chicks, you know how these chicks be. You know, man. Yeah, man, I know, because it happened to my boy. And so, the men will commiserate because, they don't know he did it. You know what I'm saying? They're going off of their own experiences and the things that they've heard about. So it not only re-victimizes real victims, it helps the predator hide. as well.
That
So this is
is
a big
so
problem.
sick. And it's when the oversaturation of cases where ladies are being found out to be trying to take advantage of the justice system, lying, extortion, etc. The more women that get caught doing this and the public is seeing it, like you said, I can see where the predators are going to be like, yes, more now it's going to now less and less people are going to believe this. And I'm like, it will be, yeah, half the guys I know have been accused of something, like, and how that normalizes predators, not stories never actually having to be exposed. Wow. Super chats, everybody. I see that we got a few so far. Don C 2490. Thank you for the $20. Thank you all for doing this forum. Wonderful panel. Appreciate you, Don C. Then we got Unc B streaming. Thank you for the $2. When the Dr. Cheyenne Bryan is coming, if she's open to coming through, she welcome. I'll have some questions for her in terms of these credentials, but she's more than welcome to kind of come through. Some of her explanations were interesting. I'll say that for now. Naeem Reed, thank you, good brother, for the $5 challenge. Which one of you will actually write the Cry Wolf Act? Let's do and see. Write it, CC. Okay, we're gonna keep that in mind. I think we have a special guest kind of coming in that may be a little bit further along with being able to write some stuff to lead towards legislation. And then last but not least for now, Julius Brewster, the Poor 99. Unfortunately, a lot of victims are also undocumented and do not report due to fear of deportation. I've heard that, and that is also an insane thing that I've learned more recently over the last couple of years is the populations that already have issues when it comes to law enforcement are obviously even less likely to run to law enforcement because they know what that means when they go to ask for help and support. So I'm like, this combo situation that we're dealing with of real actual victims not being believed and juxtaposing that with people who are trying to take advantage of this current era we're in. You got the actual victims on one side, and you have people who are trying to weaponize the justice system for revenge, for financial gain, whatever. The very act is something they both can engage in with two different motives. And the one thing that I'm wondering is like, is there any actual thing we can do to actually ensure that actual evidence is primarily being used for this? I'll give you an example. And this is controversial. If you removed the civil suit option, and this was only a criminal option, would that decrease the chances for these type of opportunities to happen? If you remove the civil suit qualifications, because it's a much lower bar to win a civil suit than it is to win a criminal case. If you remove the financial incentive completely, would that help or hurt this situation so that real victims can still be, potentially seek justice, but it will weed out a lot of the women or people who are trying to get financial gain? Now to clarify, if you do this, that would mean then that the only justice the person would get if they are an actual victim is whatever the jury or the judge decides. It won't be about financial restitution. So for victims, the only recourse is the criminal charge option, not the financial gain. What y'all think?
I agree with that. It would be difficult still for real victims because it's just a difficult thing to prove. It just is. In most cases, not in every case, but in most cases, it's just difficult anyway. I think that would go a long way to weed out people who are just saying something, just to be saying something, to know that you can come forward. And if this really happened, and let's just say it really did happen, but the jury says he's not guilty because we can't convict him because there was a reasonable doubt there. Now she would have to just take that and understand that she didn't get any justice. She went through that, but she didn't get anything out of that. That would be something for a potential victim to weigh, that I may not get, not only just not money, I may not get anything, because theoretically a jury can only convict you if there is no reasonable doubt. So all that a defense would have to do is create reasonable doubt, right? And then he can possibly get off completely or have to cop to a lesser charge, you know, or whatever the case may be. But I do think that it would weed out just outright liars, like this lady with the Stefon did. She just lied. You know what I'm saying? Like nothing happened to her. Girl, you was just mad. You know what I'm saying?
Start doing a little bop, the
right.
little dance.
How you doing the Reebok? Like, please. And badly, because you didn't do the little shoulder work that you were supposed to do.
It was off beat. It was off beat. Berlin, what about you with that crazy concept I just put out there? Would the only legitimate way we could weed this out or eliminate a lot of people from using this option for the wrong motives be to take that off the table completely and make this just a criminal case?
I agree. And especially because if this is something that really happened, the money is not necessarily what you're going for. You're going for justice. You're not going for a paycheck. You get what I'm saying? Whereas people who I'm just out here for it, they will probably feel like, well, shoot, no, I'm not even going to waste my time or anyone else's. And hopefully having these kind of conversations, and with the blowback, because it's all over the internet, people will think and say, you know what, I know some people say there's no such thing as bad press, but it comes to a point where you have to understand my reputation is ruined. And so I think it could be a start.
Yeah. Again, I don't see this happening as well. But it's one of those things where I genuinely believe we're at a stage and point where so many women are getting massive payoffs now. And there's not even the women that's getting the massive payoffs. I'm going to throw out a couple things that I have been told personally as a therapist, as a family member, as a friend, with women over the years. Lying about pregnancy. Lying and weaponizing access to the kids, and threats of going to say that he touched the kids when he didn't, so that they can keep him on child support. Lying about physical and sexual assault. Yep. Planned extortions or get back revenge. Even down to seeing when men get called for things, requested for things. And then you find out when you get more information, oh, you just made it seem like this dude was acting this way, but you didn't tell us you was attacking him. You didn't tell us you was stalking him. You didn't tell us you was hitting his mama up. You didn't tell us you was destroying his public property. You didn't tell us none of that. You just said that he snapped. And the amount of men that's found themselves in situations where they're dead or locked up because of a woman's word. I'm going to play 1 or 2 clips, and I just want to see what you all think about this in terms of the ongoing scrutiny of, are we at a stage where we're so used to demonizing men that people can't really sympathize with that unless it's their own husband, son, or relative? It's almost like all men are bad, but not mine, not mine. And then 2, are men going to have to start to really, really reevaluate having a lot of relationships with women if they're constantly being caught up in crazy situations where we have to take her word, which could cost us our freedom or our life? So I'm going to play those 2 clips, and then we'll see what you guys think.
Comes to the whole like believe all women thing, unless the guy comes out and confesses that he did whatever is alleged to have been done, I'm assuming most men are going to say I did not do that. So if we say believe all women, that smuggles in disbelieve men.
And it can mean that we have situations where people lie on it, and that's terrible. But it's
as a call taker, it happens a lot.
There should
Women
be
blame men for
consequences.
things that men never did to them. But oh, he ghosted me. Oh, he dumped me. I've encountered way more false accusations than I have. It's a real call.
Really? How long have you been doing?
I dispatched for about 15 years.
But so for that 15 years that you were a 911 operator, you're saying that the majority of the calls you got where a woman was alleging that she had been essayed.
In calls where women alleged they were assaulted, there were more of the false calls than the real calls. Yes.
Calling your brothers and your cousins for every little argument. That's your fault. You can't sit back and say it's not your fault because they went too far. You shouldn't have called them.
What do y'all think about both of those type of scenarios? Let's start with Maggie and then Berlin and then Crimson.
It is a tragedy. So 2 points. One, I wanted to answer about, what we can do to fix or try to fix the women that are trying to get a payout. But in these examples, it's already started to happen where the men are saying, you know what? Take my ball and go home. It's just not even worth engaging. I saw someone say that in the chat. I don't think, and I've been saying it, it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I don't think women really realize, again, we're not getting away with this. We have that false sense of, ooh, nobody saw me. Ooh, I got away with it. Ooh, it didn't hurt that bad. It's going to hurt. The chances of women being able to have an opportunity with a man that is a stranger to you, he might just say, you know what, unless you come personally recommended, or unless I know you from my hometown, or maybe it's going to swing back to the way that it used to be, where families used to introduce people and you grew up with somebody. And this whole like hookup culture and meeting a stranger on the internet or dating somebody, from a different coast. And, yes, exceptions happen, but it's such a huge risk for our men. And they're asking themselves, is it worth the risk? And more often than not, the answer is no. So again, all of us now are going to have men who avoid eye contact, who have men who will see you with a flat tire and keep driving. Or you may have a serious need and they're just going to say, you know what, I can't help you, because they can't trust that it's not going to fall back on them.
Wow. What about you, Berlin?
Miss Maggie, you must be in my house. I have sat many times with my husband and my sons, because my husband is the one who will jump out and go help a woman if she has a flat tire. It's no questions asked, okay? And so I have had to have conversations. The times have changed, and unfortunately, being a gentleman, it's not always a reward, not the reward that you would think. And so when I'm hearing you say this, and of course, like I said, I'm a boy mom, and I think about, oh my gosh, how are they going to even find a wife? And I'm explaining the same thing. Keep your hands to yourself. Any and every precautionary method that you can use. And I've always said I'm for arranged marriages. And at this point, we might be there, because who can you trust in terms of, like you said, meeting people, and everybody's, well, meet people online and all of that. I think that one thing, and I'm not trying to shift blame, but we have to stop this unscrupulous behavior. And with what we see, as we already know, and you stated, men are not even wanting to give eye contact. It is an alarm going out right now, like a serious alarm, that like you said, maybe you should start meeting people through families, because if not, it is way too easy to get set up. And I don't want to say this generation is lost, but sometimes I feel that way when I think about the women and I'm out and about and I'm looking. I'm like, wow, do we have to take an L and start with those teenagers now, with the young ladies now, and the young men now? It's got to be some hope,
I
because
think you're
really,
preaching to the choir, Verlin, because I think the ladies on the panel right now, they've been saying we got to go younger and younger. They've been saying it, and Maggie, what Maggie alluded to, and Verlin, what you alluded to, I think men are going to start, like we already seeing men are starting to adapt. Men are starting to adapt, and you know, if I had a son, I would be talking about NDAs when he's a teenager. As quiet as it kept, even just starting to practice with dating or interactions with women and explaining the role and purpose of an NDA and what it can protect you from and what it can't, and normalizing that NDAs are not just for rich people and celebrities. And that I think young boys need to get in the habit of, you got to get comfortable with language about NDAs. And I think you got to get comfortable about prenuptial agreements, conversations about it, and conversations about paternity tests. Because the women who are scared of those conversations are not the women that you even want to continue to engage in. If there is a reason for why she has an issue based on everything we're seeing out here, if she has an issue with even the conversation, if all of those are effectively off the table, what do you think her motives are for why it is that they're going to weaponize? I know how ladies work. It's because you don't trust me. It's because you don't. I know I'll trust you more when you sign this stuff. and I would condition my sons and nephews and cousins, male cousins, especially younger ones, and say, I want you to imagine women that want to come and say, listen, I want you to truly be able to feel like you can trust me. And before we engage in anything on a serious level, this is my comfort level with that stuff. I think you can work with that. I think that Medium Man, he said something that he mentioned, and I'm going to play it in a little bit. He said that he thinks that a lot of our women have lost equity in the believability factor in this community. And it's horrible to say that, considering back in the day, most women's words and young girls' words didn't mean anything. We had a short blip between 2012 to 2018 where it just seemed like all these accusations are flying and some guys are being held accountable. But then now it seems like a dog and pony show where it's almost like the new go-to thing when women are upset, when they're upset about how things have unfolded. He's not taking me as seriously as I thought. He's replacing me with someone else. He cheated. He rejected me. Who knows? But these court cases, the Johnny Depp one was a great example for me. Homegirl was taking poops in the bed. I still ain't get over that. And Hollywood reacted as if she was the victim. And really, really evaluating, like, are we witnessing on film and on our phones the dehumanization of men when you are automatically, the moment an accusation is put out there, assumed guilty by default because of your sexuality? And we're so desensitized to it that I don't even think we realize, like, do y'all realize that we see men in that way, human beings in that way, automatically guilty? Imagine if we said, every black person you see, they automatically guilty. Racist. Every woman that says there does this, she lying. Sexist. But when you say it about men, it's very, very interesting. And again, everybody that's currently still watching, if you have not done so, please make sure that you hit that super chat. We have a few more minutes left before we bring on a guest. And then we're going to react to this, and then we're going to read some of your super chats.
Women have no equity with black men on social media. None. Black women
I want to say
years, spend months, spend hours talking foolery about black men all day, every day on social media, especially TikTok. Because if you ask black women, how do you think black men perceive y'all based off the way that you talk about black men on social media? They will tell you straight up, we hate black men.
Fucking with y'all before the election, we're still not effing with y'all after the election.
Matter of fact, where was y'all when every quarter a black woman goes viral for disparaging black men and how they want to date white men?
I definitely fall into the stereotype of a undesirable black woman. However, none of that stops me from dating and choosing very consciously to not and never again date black men.
Black men, y'all need to do better. Y'all really need to do better. There is no reason why I should have a white man, a 6'2", 220, white collar, blue jeans and white sneakers wearing white man sit right in my face, look me dead in my eyes, didn't blink or stutter not nail one time, and tell me that he cannot understand for the life of him how a black man who looks homeless has the audacity or the courage to approach a black woman.
Black women have no problem talking mess about black men all day, every day. Black women will straight up tell y'all asses that they hate us on social media.
If you are dealing with a black man, you need to have at least the small thought that he may have either been involved with a man sexually or he is actively still dealing with men and you don't know about it. Me personally, whenever I've dealt with a black man, I've always just had it in the back of my head based off of certain things where I'm like, he probably is or has had relations with another man before.
So y'all have no equity built up with black men. So that's why it's rare that you see black men stepping in and speaking up for black women, because they have to take a step back and be like, well, shit, what happens when black women start talking mess about us? You wrong, all of y'all, because you know how you think about black men on social media. So don't sit there and act innocent. You're not.
All right. What do y'all think about the combo of when believe all women equates to believe all men are guilty? That's what that means. And therefore we're dehumanizing men on one end. And then now, boy who cried wolf effect, women that do speak out, now we're going to have to start reevaluating believing the women that look like us. Because it's like we said, that story happens when one too many guys start saying, this is the proof, it was shown in court, I was innocent. It's you're sowing a seed of doubt in society and in men. And now in the process of assuming guilt and dehumanizing men, you're now making it harder for legitimate women to be believed. Crimson and then Berlin.
I don't even really know where to start with things like this, because women who are victims of SA, and there are times where they're victims more than once in their lifetime. It's a sad day, because even though I never agreed with just believe all women in terms of we don't have to have no proof, just believe that they're telling the truth, I always thought that was problematic.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, to a certain degree, understood where it initially came from versus where it went.
Yeah.
Initially, it was like trying to be the inverse of she's automatically lying.
Yep.
Right? Because that was the previous thought before the Me Too and the Believe All Women, and before all that, the previous line of thinking was she's automatically lying.
Yep.
Why would she lie on this man like this? You know, these men ain't did nothing. And so the Believe All Women and the Me Too movement originally began not even as something to publicly deride men for. But it was like, yeah, I was in either a compromised situation or full blown essayed.
Yep.
Right. I don't forgive these movements for allowing themselves to be perverted into something that we could weaponize against innocent people. I don't like that. I've never liked it.
Yeah.
Because it just takes away from people who really went through stuff. It's not just female victims. It's male victims too. Right? That have gone through, they being coerced, they're being put in situations where they're being taken advantage of also. Nobody believes them. Right? So I'll never forgive these movements for allowing themselves to be perverted, to be weaponized as a tool of feminism now, misandry. We can't stand men, so because, and I'm gonna go slightly off on a tangent. The even the definition of what SA is, the way these misandrists spread that definition is crazy to me, because women intrinsically know when that line got crossed. We know specifically when that line was crossed between my consent and my not consent. And then for them to try to utilize an intrinsic knowledge that we understand as women when we being violated into, oh, if he touch you right here, then that's, you know what I'm saying? I never agree with that either. Because what is y'all talking about? You know what I'm saying? If he look at you cross-eyed across the room, okay, you might not like it, but we not gonna say that's SA though. You know what I'm saying? Like, we not going to, we gotta keep stuff in what it means. And that's one of the big problems that I have with feminism and misandry and that type of talk, is the removing of actual definitions and replacing the denotative meaning of something with a pseudo connotative meaning, and then trying to get women emotionally involved with changing the meaning of actual terms, which also further degrades people who really have gone through actual assault and are dealing with the fallout of that privately. I'm sorry, I might not have even answered your question, Mr. Jeff.
First of all, you hit on things that I was planning on asking about too, so I'm not even worried about that. The imagery that I have that's coming to mind when these type of discussions are happening, when it comes to the people who are weaponizing this, I think of Emmett Till. I think of Emmett Till and a white woman elevating her privilege to a degree where she could rob that man, young boy, of his life. And how women in this community are doing the same or similar type of behavior as what led to Emmett Till not being here. I think when it comes to doing this, especially and specifically to Black men, when you know that you're moving in the wrong direction, we actually got to stop just leaving this stuff as it's a bad thing. That wasn't good. We actually got to call this a form of white supremacy. Because what would be the difference with a female white supremacist? Wouldn't they do the same thing?
And let me interject right there briefly.
Yeah.
Mr. Jeff, I have long made the correlation between feminism, all of its ideals, and I called it is the child of white supremacy. It was born out of white supremacy. And I have said that feminism has done to the Black community what bald-faced white supremacy could not. And so I agree wholeheartedly. It is Emmett Till and people, just on a different aspect. But you still trying to use some type of the damsel in distress or whatever it is that you think you can use in order to weaponize and leverage it against somebody because you don't like them or you got hurt by them or whatever the case may be. Like this chick with Stefon just got her feelings hurt for whatever reason and then wasted taxpayers' time. So I'm not gonna step on nobody.
She was hold on. I ain't see her in the kitchen now one time. All these pictures, all these videos. She was at games. She out and about on vacations and what, not cooking. I'm down. Listen, if she was just doing her job, never mind. Let me stay on my lane.
All she had to do was bake up some little dino nuggets and she'd have been all right.
Tristan Smith, thank you, good sir, for the 1999. He writes, remember when Sha'Carri Richardson beat her boyfriend in the airport, then lied to the police and said he hit her? Thank God for airport security cameras. They just let her continue running track like what she did didn't matter. This is exactly what I'm talking about. When you look at a black man, knowing especially how the justice system treats him, and you try to weaponize that because you're upset, because you're jealous, because you're angry, because of whatever the feeling is, and you're not in actual danger. Oftentimes, you're the initiator or aggressor, by the way. That's what the stats say. So when we say all these women ain't our women, and people get confused on what that means, if you've threatened to or you weaponize the justice system, family court, probation officers, judges, if you've weaponized any of those things towards a man, realize you're no better than a white supremacist. You're a Klanswoman. And the worst part is, I was thinking about this recently. I think it's better in the era of Me Too to be a woman that lies about this stuff and gets found out to be a liar than to be a man that gets proven to be innocent later on. It's better to be a woman that lies about sexual assault or lies about rape and gets turned out to be a liar, proven to be a liar, than it is to be the man that was accused and later gets proven to be innocent all along. It's better to be a woman in this scenario. Berlin and then Maggie.
Oh, gosh. Well, first I want to say what you said is so true. I tell my sons, you are brown, you have an X on your chest and a target on your back. And that is the sad reality. It's something when you're talking about weaponizing, and I think about the dehumanizing of men, my mind always goes back to entertainment and all the movies that are coming out. And there's a movie coming out now. I won't say the name, but folks are being told to kill a man, right? And they look like us and they're being, go out and kill the man. And all of this is constantly going on. All of these movies where the women are the heroes and we're done wrong and the men need the revenge. The men have to be dealt with. And so this is helping to further perpetuate in the mind that men are all this, they need to be destroyed. They need to be in prison. That's why I said they have an X on their chest and a target on their back. Who is not after the black man? Speaking to Crimson Cure, I'm reading a book now about feminism, and it's saying exactly what you're saying. They call them white tears, and it all ties in together. It's called White Tears, Brown Scars, Feminism, the history of feminism. And back to your point, if men, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but there comes a time when you have to say, how am I going to protect myself? Who thought we would be in an era where we have to discuss how do we protect our black men, right? But here we are. And like I said, I have these conversations and I'm at the point like, you know what, men, if you want to hold on to your freedom, you want to hold on to your money, your career, you better start doing like they did back in the 50s and the 60s. Start sitting on grandma's porch with a lady where you got witnesses around, like put cameras in your house. It is sad that we have come to this point where we are saying, how do we protect the Black men? Because of all the ratchet behavior. So men are going to have to rethink how they are moving today.
Listen, I'm gonna say throw this out there, this grenade, and we're tap dancing around it because chances are there's no legislation that might probably is going to change anytime soon. Chances are the women that are motivated like this are probably not going to change either until they can't get away with it. Men, when it comes to sexual discipline, we can't totally eliminate any accusation, but you can reduce a whole lot of potential situations if we have a reevaluation. Yeah, I get it. The West right now is the wild, wild West. Anybody can mess around with anybody. Those days of just being like it's available and taking it, fellas are going to have to start to reevaluate this. Because it's not just about you got grown men that's still functioning like they 16-year-olds when it comes to a lack of discernment when it comes to women. It's available. She busting it wide open. I'm going to take it. The days of like being careless with this stuff, you guys actually do have to start to really, really, especially the men that are attracted to toxic women that like to fight, or men from who have built up their lives to a very successful level, men who have clout and status. Doesn't matter where you are in that rung. We're going to have to start being really serious. I've already made the argument, guys, the greater your body count is, the more at risk you are for an accusation. Every new woman is a potential Me Too moment, especially if you're doing them dirty or if they move in a way that can be very dangerous to you. Maggie, what you think?
I have a couple of thoughts. One, I want to start with the video clips that you just showed. I literally felt myself getting angry, which is rare for me. But for the Black women who like to go on the internet and spew their poison about the men that share our reflection, I think when women go on the internet and they talk about this one man or this bad date, it reminds me of the Leslie Jones. They're going to talk down on that one experience, but they really wish that man would give them the attention. That's what they really want. I think even the women in mass that are saying this group of men is better than our men, which is a lie. I think what they really want is for some Black man to say, no, I'm different. Let me show you how much better I am. But I have an old Southern man who said, I'm gonna help you mean what you say. So you know what I would do if I had a magic wand? All of these women, you get one time in a row. That's what he told me. I'm gonna tell you one time in a row, I'm gonna let you figure it out. So you go on the internet and you say what you want to say about our men. Okay, fine. For the rest of your days, if a man is not related to you by blood, you are now invisible. Poof, there you have it. You're gonna go through the world. You're going to see somebody wave and, oh, is he waving at me? Nope, he's looking at somebody behind you. You're going to go through the store. You're going to travel. You're safe now. All these horrible men that you feel so terrible about, you are completely invisible to them. You see them moving and shaking and building and having families and enjoying life. They do not see you. You are irrelevant and invisible because that is how damaging that is. The internet is forever. How dare you? How dare you go publicly and say this group of men that do not care for you are going to be better for you and every other woman. I am so angry to hear that. So I wish, get all dressed up, go out there. They just walk right past you. You are invisible to them for the rest of your life. Nobody's checking for you. Nobody's asking you out. Nobody's coming to help you. Nobody cares. You got what you wanted. I'm going to help you mean what you say. I want to circle back to what you said earlier about how can we help these women who want to pay out for their false accusations. And I don't disagree with what the lady said. But I was thinking, Mr. Jeff, you proposed, what if we took away the civil suit? That's an option. We could also make that contingent on you winning the criminal case first. So you are not eligible to file a civil suit unless you have proven guilt by the perpetrator in a criminal case. So the women that want to fast track to the payout, no, you're going to have to show hard evidence that you were wronged. I also think a way to avoid just getting a cash out is, okay, maybe money is an option, but not the only option. Maybe it's a sliding scale. There are other things that could be done to the perpetrator. Why? I think the women that are serious, and like Ms. Crimson said, the real victims, they want justice to be done. They want that man to be punished. $1 million or multiple $1 million is not going to change what happened to them. So I was just brainstorming, what if he is now he's obviously a registered sex offender. I don't know what comes with that, but maybe you're a felon. Maybe you can't vote. Maybe you can't travel. Maybe you can't have a weapon. Maybe there are other things in addition to the guilty verdict that can be done. And then the financial payout could be one of the final judgments given. But I agree with you that we eliminate women saying, you know what, he did me wrong, and now I want to retire the next day after I get however many millions of dollars.
I appreciate that. I'm thinking the radical view of, I'm seeing so many comments of people saying men and boys need to start being much more serious about reevaluating from they call it dick discipline, having discipline down there, but also how to move smarter. I totally forgot they were talking about guys having the video camera in their cars on like the live feed. That's a thing that's starting to be recommended. I totally forgot about that. Then you got the cameras in your common areas in your house, in your property. Getting in the habit of keeping records of text messages, especially if there's exchanges where arguments are happening, or emailing it to yourself. Because I think that what's proving or getting some of these guys to at least prove some type of form of innocence is what they have record of and what they can prove and show. When it's he said versus she said, we know it's typically not in his favor. And a couple of y'all I think had mentioned it, and I think one or two of the clips kind of mentioned it about this false registry list thing. For false accusations. I'm going to say this. Two things that I'm worried about is going to come if this stuff doesn't get addressed soon in the legal, natural way, which it probably won't, which is laws need to address this. Laws need to address this. And if it does not get addressed, this is what I'm worried about. First, somebody's going to start a website or an app like the T app, and somebody's just going to start a false registry accuser list. And whether they base it on court documents, criminal records, background checks, or whatever, you name it, a lone guy or two is just going to start this. They're not going to keep begging and saying this has to happen. Somebody's just going to start one. And there's going to be people who's going to be put on there who probably deserve to be on there. And then there's probably going to be some ladies who are put on that shouldn't be. So my initial view is I am worried that there's going to be a vigilante form of the state ain't going to handle it. The court ain't going to handle it. The authorities ain't going to handle it. No one even wants to vote on this. All right, we just going to start our own list. That can happen. And then number two, women that play this game always view the celebrity examples of men that's sitting in court, spending millions of dollars. And a lot of men are not going to be that patient. A lot of men don't have the finances to exhaustively go through this experience. And if a man knows his life is potentially going to get altered or ruined permanently, one of the worst, scariest things that I think is going to happen is these guys are going to start. If you think all these domestic violence cases and homicide situations, none of them was the consequence of a woman trying to threaten or weaponize something against a man that led to how he acted, you're crazy. So that's the other thing that I'm worried about. Not every man is going to have the temperament to be okay with accusations being made that he truly believes are false and that he's just going to wait for his day in court. some men and some people are going to snap, and I'm sure already have. Crimson, and then Maggie and Berlin to kind of close this out.
I wanted to speak to what you were saying about discipline and things of that nature, and I want to highlight something that Kevin Samuels used to say that gets lost in the sauce. He never included entertainers and athletes in his high value man assessment. He never, and it's a reason for that. Because when he was talking about high value men, he wasn't just talking about men's income. He was talking about the men themselves, what kind of character and what kind of characteristics they actually were cultivating in order to get to places where they had a substantial amount of income and things of that nature. You have to build yourself a certain way in order to get in certain spaces monetarily. The money doesn't just pop up. And as these things play out, you can really see that happening, because the most of these people getting falsely accused are who?
Man.
Entertainers, athletes. You don't be really seeing a whole lot. I mean, not to say that there hasn't been any, but you don't really see a whole lot of unknown men that have a lot of finances getting into these situations, because most of the time those men are already disciplined in almost every area of life, which includes how they deal with women. They're highly discerning about the kinds of women they're interacting with, how often they are interacting with certain kinds of women. And in many cases, I witnessed these men completely not engage with certain types of women at all, despite his access to them.
Wow.
His access to them didn't sway his decision on whether or not he was going to deal with them. He just didn't deal with them. Of course, he had access to them, but that didn't matter, because he's not gonna do it. Period. He's not sliding with these little chicks just because they booty big. That don't mean nothing. He done seen a big booty before. He'll be all right, and he know that. Just like Belle Biv DeVoe said, "Don't never trust a big butt and a smile. That girl is poison." We got this lesson in the 90s. This is not a new lesson. And so I wanted to talk about that, because many times these entertainers and athletes, they're just coming into the money because of a skill that they have. But what's missing is they're not getting it out of the mud in terms of, I have to build myself to be a certain man in order to have certain resources and access to things, right? I have to make sure that my mind, these boys is coming from the hood, these boys is coming from the dysfunction that every other Black boy is coming from. He just happened to throw a football real good. He just happened to be able to dribble a basketball real good. You know what I'm saying? He just happened to be able to have that skill. So okay, he got into the NFL, or he got into the NBA, or he can sing, or he can dance, or whatever the case may be. And now he got money. And now there's suddenly access to all of these women who in other circumstances he would not have access to. And it blinds him. Ooh, she look good. Ooh, she look good too. Ooh, she busting it open. Ooh,
she foreign.
Ooh. Yeah, and now he there with no discernment. He think he back in the hood smashing chicks. It's not the same. This is a different level. They are not over here because they like you, beloved. They're over here because you're the new guy. You have the money, and they trying to get it, and will do so by any means necessary. The lady who did all of that with Shannon Sharp, she was playing along too until she got tired of it. Then what she do? He was paying to play. He thought he was playing the game the way the game go. Okay, I'll give you the money. As soon as he didn't do what she wanted him to do and how much, she went right over there. I know how to get you. I know how to get you. You a whole lick. I can retire off of you. And she did. She did exactly that. So that was the one thing that I wanted to circle back to in terms of the discipline. Most men who have to build themselves up, even if he's not a millionaire, he don't have to be a millionaire, but he built himself. He made sure that he had discipline in different areas of his life. He's less likely to find himself in situations where these scuttbag women are on his neck trying to get a couple of dollars because he don't even know them women and he don't talk to them.
I needed hear that from you, because as I'm thinking more and more about this discussion about high value this and high value that, part of high value is, do I have the character and intellect and foresight to be able to protect the life that I've actually built? Or am I liable to lose everything I've worked so hard for because of a female, because of a woman? And true value is your ability to maintain it, not constantly lose it. So I'm like, wow, I'm really, really thinking about this and being like, yeah, you got to be smarter, just because not everything you can access is worth going entering into. Maggie, and then Verlin. Oh, and real quick, thank you to everybody that's given for the super chat. I just wanted to read this one because this was crazy to read. Ronald, thank you for that. He says, in my 20 plus year career in the military, I've seen many men's military careers get destroyed based over a breakup retaliation. The woman gets off scot-free because of the lie. And the retirement packages that gets destroyed and the pensions that they get cut off from. Crazy stuff happens when guys don't think this part through, because it's all about just getting to the yams. And appreciate you, Mark of Elohim. Facts, a lot of good brothers working in the tech space nowadays will build the database and put the faces and names to those snakes ourselves. Fellas, may the force be with you, because they may do the thing that our government won't, which is actually have some type of form of accountability and protection for men. If I can look up women just to make sure she ain't on that list, that's a point, especially if this list becomes comprehensive. So I'm warning society, if y'all don't want the government to do it, men may start jumping up and saying we'll do it ourselves and start focusing on our respective states. Just put it out there. Maggie, what about you?
Miss Crimson could not be more right. I had a little bit of a moment when you were talking about that, Mr. Jeff, and I want to add on and agree vehemently. When you have a high value man, when you have a 1% man, especially in our community, they are not trust fund kids. They had to build it. They had to earn it, blood, sweat, and tears. And so they would not arrive at that point unless they had been able to turn down a lot of distractions along the way. And Ms. Crimson has said before, these men are ruthless. I know Mr. President always says, you know what? I'm not saying I agree with Handmaid's Tale, but I understand we got there. Meaning their agenda is scorched earth. Keep it up. That's why I keep warning and saying, ladies, it's going to cost all of us. There's going to be some of us that survive, and the rest are going to be left to figure it out, and it will not be pretty. These type of men, Mr. Kevin Samuels used to say, he got a lot of flack for this, but just get a well-vetted call girl or somebody who has been recommended that if you want to do whatever you want to do, she has a reputation, she has the papers, she's not trying to have a windfall on your reputation. That's why, like Ms. Crimson said, these men have access to everything, but they are highly selective. And a lot of times why they end up with women who may look more average as opposed to the baddie, because the baddie is not worth the stress. Even if she may be fun in the moment, they are not going to risk it all. So I 100% agree. Even Brittany Renner, when she was in the car, didn't she say the best way to come up off a check is to deal with a dumb what? She said athlete, not investment banker, not vice president of a company, not CEO. She went specifically. These women know exactly what they're doing. And like Ms. Crimson said, unfortunately, the young brothers who have a talent who may not have developed that discernment of this woman doesn't really like you. She's just doing this to be around you. And she is a snake, and she's going to take every opportunity to bring you down. They haven't developed that skill as much as they have developed whatever talent that they have. And you're right. Kevin Samuels did exclude the athletes and the entertainers, because you could have a hit song or a hit, ball experience, and then overnight your life can change. But the men that are high value, that's why Kevin Samuels said they had to have been making that for certain years or more, usually a decade before they arrive at that point. So I 100% agree. Because Mr. Jeff, when you were talking about we need to build a database, and I think it's a great aspiration, but these men don't have time for that. They're not going to take the time for that. You get one time in a row. They are ruthless, and there's a reason for that, because they're not going to risk it. And a lot of women, unfortunately for them, will have to regret the game that they played with that real one. Everybody's going to meet that real one. They're going to think that the way they were running with this type of man is going to work with this type of man. And he's not even going to entertain it. He's not talking to you. He's not debating you. He's not answering. He's telling you what it is. And if you're not going to abide by those rules, he can find somebody else. That's just how they move. So, I think, unfortunately, for our young athletes and entertainers, they have to be especially vigilant. But I think that the high value men, they know how to handle this quietly. It never makes this type of splash.
More often than not, yeah. They're looking for reasons to disqualify her and eliminate her on the earlier, way before they get to certain points. Berlin, I know we got a couple minutes left. Why don't you close us out with your final thoughts?
I'll be brief. And so it all gets back to what we heard, the word character and community and collective. Like I said, I don't know if it's too late for this generation, but as a community and a collective, we need to have more conversations. We need to have, I want to say big mama, big daddy, granddaddy, talking to these young fellas when they are coming up, when they are in college, if they're going to be athletes, entertainers, or whatever, and explaining this is the game. This is how it's done, instead of sending them out with one idea, and that is get the money. But to explain, because lots of times you may hear that's happening, but you're not going to think it's not going to happen to me. You just go out there, you got the money, you've got the fame, but no one is building the man or building the young man. And so we are sending them out unprotected, right? Because there's no community. You just have people who are looking at these young men as a paycheck and not considering, okay, this can happen down the line. What about the conversations saying, look, right now you're 20, 22, but one day you may want to settle down and have a wife and have a family. What is that going to look like in a few years when you go back to 19 and 20 and we've got the internet, right? And you can look up anybody and see all of their history. Like, what are you going to tell your children? This is who I was at 19 and 20. I had these girls and that girl and this one pregnant. Like, these are conversations that should be had within our community, not the coach, not the people who are making the money, but in our community and our collective, to gather our young men and say, look, this is the reality. Yes, you're getting these millions of dollars, but let me tell you what Becky or whoever is going to do. They are primed and raised to do this. Are we having these conversations? Again, our people with our people, because we have to protect our men. I do. My sons are 17, my twins, they're 6'3", and they look like mini me's, right? And I'm constantly warning them. You cannot go out here and be wilding out, be unscrupulous. All right? Again, you have an X on your chest and a target on your back. We need to be having these conversations with our sons before we're sending them off. All right.
I appreciate it. And I legitimately think that, as more and more people are raising the warning signs, you never know. You never know. I think maybe, again, we're seeing all these clips of women starting to say men aren't approaching us like they used to. So maybe men are starting to really start being a lot more careful about a lot of these things. To the legitimate victims, we do always want you guys to go and get the help and support that you need, and to advocate, and hopefully you get to a point where you can get justice and be believed. For all the ladies who are doing this type of stuff and taking advantage of these type of situations, whether the law catches up or men decide to handle it on their own, I don't know that there's going to be another generation that's going to be cool with y'all continuing to take advantage of the system, this loophole. So just as a warning, ladies, this probably isn't going to be a game that you want to keep playing, because I don't know that a lot of guys are going to allow you even the opportunity to play with their livelihood or their lives. They may just take that into their own hands. So just keeping that out there. But men, let's do what we can to put ourselves in better, wiser positions. And, you know, if we're going to be out in the streets, you know, be careful who ends up in the sheets. All right, y'all, have a good evening, and we'll see y'all on the other side. And thanks again to everybody and all the super chatters and everybody that's supporting the brand and channel. Please make sure you follow all these ladies on their respective platforms if you haven't done so. And make sure you guys become members of our respective channels and platforms. Everybody have a good evening.